there, peoples. 'Tis I, Benicus Maximus. No, that would be Ben from Second Dynasty here, coming at you live over the interwebs with another Thursday update. Hopefully you can hear me alright. I will move the microphone slightly closer to myself so that you can hear me even better. And we will commence our stream. So, if you've not been with us before, basically we make 3D printable starships at about a 28mm scale. So if you imagine like Warhammer figurines or other tabletop miniatures, it's to around that scale. So we have absolutely mammoth ships. Now last week we were working on this thing that we have in front of us, the Beowulf, which is our upcoming officially licensed Traveller Starship, the second one we've done. Although this will be premiering later in the year, it's a very big job. It's going to take many months to get done. And last week when we left this thing, we were working on this top deck, the A deck. I haven't done a ton of work on this right now because, as I said last week, we're switching gears a little bit. I also said that the Type S campaign that we had on my manufacturer would be closing tomorrow. However, I've talked to my manufacturer and they want to do one last little crowdfunding spurt, if you will, and we'll market the end of the campaign. So hopefully we can get a couple more backers in there, which will help keep us rolling for the months to come. Anyway, it'll also be the last chance to upgrade your pledge if you wanted to do something like that if you already were a backer. In any case, I'm not going to be focusing too much on the Beowulf today because we're switching gears towards our upcoming mini campaign, Starship: The Next Generation. Still chuffed with the with the name. Our Prusa parts finally came, so we can start getting the second Prusa rolling again. However, we haven't got it going in time where we felt comfortable printing out everything we're going to have in this upcoming campaign. We will have demos, but our pitch film is probably going to lean back on our old 3D animation skills. And I've been working on like visualizing that. We can kind of switch over briefly. So this is our Maya scene for visualizing parts. We kind of want to emphasize the difference between now and then. And you can see there's a lot of visual noise in this, but I have done a bunch of renders. So basically I've been trying to mimic a more realistic style of printing. Hey John. And I should also say hi to our regulars. Thank you for joining us, guys. It's nice that someone's out there in the chat. If you do have questions, Albin is listening vaguely to what I'm saying and is supposed to be monitoring the chat in any case. So eventually we'll have some questions, but let me get to the what we're doing first, and then I can start answering stuff as I work. So you can kind of see a progression of render tests. This one on the left, I've tried to make more a resin style. It's not quite there yet with the layering. They're probably too emphasized at the moment. And on the right, we have something closer to FDM. So we want to kind of compare, because we're redoing Starship 1 stuff essentially. We want to compare what the old model looked like to the new. So a couple more renders on, and you can kind of see our progress of trying to get this to look plasticky, and we're getting closer to a sort of metallic plastic here. You can see all of this banding, which we're trying to work off. I was experimenting with kind of making the layers look a little bit more random, and we found a nice little hack that would actually be great for anyone that's trying to render something similar, but this is what we kind of ended up on at this point. We're able to get this nice top layer looking design, mostly because Prusa Slicer actually has a way to export a print, which is fantastic, and lets us sort of have a literal model. Now these models, they're very polygon heavy. Like this one's 400,000 polygons, for example. If we isolate it, we can kind of zoom in. You can kind of see that it's just really very simple forms. Each layer is really not ideal. We have tried. Oh, one thing I haven't tried is using the making it a quad. Shit, that worked way quicker than I thought it would. And then mesh smoothing it. Yes, don't ask me again. This may crash. I'm prepared for that. It's a crashy kind of day. Actually, I haven't had any crashes today.
Lies. All lies.
You can see it doesn't look great when we smooth it, right? So, I don't know. I think we'll probably just leave it the way it is. Because the other thing is we don't want to spend too much work on it. Look at all the gaps here. Yeah. It's a little too much of an issue, I think. It was a nice idea. And it might look better in the render if I actually render this. Let's see, I can... Hopefully this doesn't lag too much, but I can fire up the old render engines. So let's redo this and see how it looks real quick. This will be the part where it starts to lag.
Yeah, John was saying that this geometry made his 350 Ti cry.
Well, it would, probably. I think our average render times are about 1.5 minutes. So we can come back to this while it's rendering. I do have a 3090 in this rig. So before we get to the old style tiles that we're updating, I just wanted to say real quick that I have printed out the sides here and the top here, and I should probably hold that up before we get too much further. So let me just grab the Beowulf. It's getting heavy. And let me switch to close-up mode, and you guys can see that we've got the top on. Quite happy with how that's all coming out. Looks much more like a proper ship.
Yeah, looks awesome.
There is a slight gap here. I'll probably work on dropping down some of the top wall. We'll see how I solve that, but a part of it's just like, you know, once the floor's in, it's going to probably bend outwards rather than inwards as it does now. So yeah, that's the new part that we did, right? Albin's just like, uh-huh. And then we do have...
John commented, "It's a beautiful helmet shirt."
Like cone heads or something.
Oh, glorious.
Oh, all right. What more do we have to show off in the close-ups? Let's have a look. Yes, not just my face. I thought I may as well just go ahead and do a complete new version of the Type 4 shuttle. So yeah, the forward landing gear was a little hard to get in. This part here is actually just the Mark III. Yes, Mark III interior and exterior. So we did have it in green, but I thought I'd do the whole thing in silver so you can see. Now we haven't done anything at the back. We can pick up that nice detail. So yeah, again, this one will probably be late May, June when we get it to market. We do have a update. Peter has made the Type J from instead. It refuses to focus. Let's see, maybe if I put some direct light on it.
We got a comment about the Beowulf earlier.
Yeah.
They were thinking it looked really nice and that it reminded Lost in Sound of the G.I. Joe space shuttle, the Defiant. It's a very chunky boy if you look at the images online.
All right. Yes, I think we were too poor during the G.I. days to get there. Now, I am going to show you a few more previews in just a little bit, and also mention that next week, aside from we're closing the Traveler 1 campaign, or well, the Type S campaign, really. So it's been open for a ton of time. MMF needs to change a few things. It's a good time for us to close it down. We are currently working with Papsicles on at least one of those commissioned miniatures. The other commissioner, the other Archduke, has been in touch once and then went ghost again. So I don't know. Poor Kyushinenko was like, "Yeah, we've got a contract for you here now. We just need to get in touch with this guy again. He's just contacted us," and then it's like, "Nope, gone." So this might have been a little bit slow just from the fact that we were running other stuff in the background. But yeah, it gives you an idea of sort of like the overall look we were going for. So this is the one with mesh smooth. You can see a bit of issues with these corners and whatnot. Mostly why we've gone back to this style. And yeah, we're working on it. But the idea is to sort of like do a comparison of the early versions and the later versions. So why don't we go into our scene here and look at what we're talking about. So the next campaign we're putting up is just going to be a mini campaign, and all we're looking to do is the original base tiles, corridors, and engineering walls and floors, essentially, with our new techniques and new detail. So you can kind of see this is a scene that Albin has assembled. And I only really started working on this scene on Monday, where I was at home with the dog. But yeah, older tiles, why do we want to replace them? Well, first of all, the geometry is shit. If we look at these, look at all these nasty n-gons. If you fed this into many slices, especially back in the day, these holes would probably just outright disappear. I mean, the way that we did pipes too, I really didn't know what I was doing. And then we have, of course, the open lock base tiles with their built-in supports. Now, these print fine on FDM printers, even if you, and they're pretty decent if you actually are going to have all of these ports open. But if you've only got single ports like here, these supports really aren't necessary these days. The bridging is so much better than it used to be. So it's sort of like unnecessary. Then we also have the our sort of doorways. The door frames required supports because you know, we have these overhangs here that are 90 degrees. So we would these days cut the top off this and have it print as a separate part. And that's a philosophy we're expanding on right now, and I'll show you in a minute how we're thinking. Now,
I got a comment about n-guns from John. He said that n-guns are not evil with modern slices as long as the shape is convex. He noticed that Bruce never had an issue.
Does that look convex to you, John? Does it? It looks like a nightmare to me. So yeah, and in fact, look, I believe this is probably an instance of where things have gone wrong. This is essentially how the slicer can interpret things as well. So yeah, is that good geometry, John? Would you be proud of that? I don't think you would. Then again, you never know. And it was created by the Ben. So there's that. John is running my cult on the side. I'm just a figurehead, so I have nothing to do with the day-to-day sacrifices. In any case, these are the older ones, and then we've kind of blown these out. This is the new one that I'm working on. So I've added a splash of color. It's not by any means finished. If I turn off the lighting here, which I've just added for your viewing pleasure, you can kind of see that the bases have all been modularized. And this is a part of our strategy for dealing with both conceptualizing like 3MF and that we're standardizing every tile. So whereas before these floor tiles were kind of like at different levels depending on what kind of base tiles you were using. There are a number of other issues that we had. I can just maybe turn off the lights there so that's not in the way. So if we compare, we've kind of got this doorway now where the pipes just end nowhere off in space. Let's put these lights back on again. So it's like, yeah, obviously these are quite Nostromo inspired, but it doesn't make much sense. And now we have the geometry I'm working on, which is kind of like the higher fidelity version. You've got these nice pipes going full. I don't think we even had proper corners. Like we did, definitely didn't have corners with the pipes built in. The pipes make sense now. I spent a shit ton of time trying to figure out how to do these pipes. And turn off the lighting so you can see.
With that color and the lights and stuff like that, I really like it.
Yeah, I'm. This is kind of like closer to my original vision in my head. And there's still a little way to go with like coloring tiles. This is meant to be, let's see, Lambert dark grey. They're not metal.
Oh, John said it doesn't, and please don't hurt me. Laughing face.
It doesn't what?
When he was talking about geometry earlier. Aerospace Smith really liked the high fidelity modeling as well. He thinks it's really beautiful.
So how can we have these massive overhangs if I was complaining about this doorway? We just made things way worse with the pipes.
Stuff, yes.
So let's start explaining it. And the best way to do that is to grab... Oh, I guess there was more to this. I must have duplicated something that I shouldn't have. But let's go up there, isolate, remove these ones. Alright, and there we go. So here's our corner piece, right? Oh yeah, I re-engineered the corners. Classic open lock issue is that, I'll show you that in a second. Alright, so top and bottom is actually going to be separated. So we did have half walls. They didn't kind of work all that great. It took a lot of time to detail the insides. Now we're doing top and bottom as a sort of separate part for 3 reasons. At least I think there are 3. The first one being it gives you the option to remove the top of the walls if you want to, for example, have better visibility on your play board. Okay, so if you've actually got 3D map laid out on your table, you've got some kind of encounter planned, it can be a little tricky for all the players to see over the walls, right? So you just take off the top layer, and this would take the door frames and everything with it as well. And you could simply remove it to sort of have an X-ray version through the vision through the walls. The second part is half walls print in half the time, but also FDM printers in particular are better and faster in the X and Y than they are in the Z. So whilst if you had a full wall, right, printing here, this might take an hour and a half to print, for example. But if you split this up into 2 parts and put them next to each other, they take an hour. So you can save a lot of time doing things this way. The other thing too is we wanted to change the orientation of how we print things. The floor tiles, yes, we put them on their sides now, which is also a reason to take out these open lock supports for the most part. The ones in the walls are vertical. Let's see if we have a corner piece left. I don't think... Yeah, okay. So this is the original... Oh, wait, that was 2 reasons. What was my third one?
Speed, visibility, and the overhangs. Did you speak about overhangs?
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. So if by printing out 2 halves, the top half we would just print out, and again we don't need all of this stuff, but you would print it out like so. So it prints out upside down, that lets us have these great, overhanging pieces. I'm just going to undo that.
We got some comments here. First comment concerning especially this overhang thing is that the Moon Captain really liked the doorway pipe overhang, which would possibly also act as support for a upper level. And John compares these way of modeling to Sims cutaways, and he calls you the genius of Ben. Or he's not calling you that.
Well, to be fair, Albin certainly has worked on most of this, so I can't claim. I mean, we've discussed it together, but he's implemented a lot of what we've discussed. So I've only been working on this for a couple of days.
That wall thing was really clever, I think.
The wall thing.
Yeah, splitting it.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, that's something we had before, obviously. So in this way, we can kind of support both techniques without having to have, two versions of it. And then the third thing, and we can still easily like export these where the slicer will fill in the gaps between the parts as well. So if you want to print it out as a whole piece, like in SLA or something, you can. But the other thing about the modularity is we're making it so that you can have just one side be, for example, engineering, and the other side be a corridor in a different style. So whilst initially we're only going to be supporting this like by us making the tile variants ourselves, and this could be, a sort of stretch goal territory. I was talking to MMF today about how the campaign is going to go, because this will be, I believe, the first campaign of their new alternative to crowdfunding. They've realized crowdfunding on their platform isn't really crowdfunding because you're paying for it up front. So I don't know if I can share the name of it yet. They didn't go with launch, but they went for another word that works equally well with fantasy and science fiction, so I'm happy about that. But this will just be a simple, essentially a pre-order, but we will still have stretch goals. So there won't be a starting goal. You'll be able to finance it for a month, and the idea with that model too is the earlier you get in, the cheaper it is. So it sort of has a starting price with the buy-in increases slightly every day. In reality, I think it'll probably just be a couple of bucks. So I'm aiming to keep things fairly cheap, especially given the state of the economy in the world today. But yeah, let's get back to the tiles. The other thing too, if we're doing these halves, both halves here, and we have a bit more command on the other stuff, we can start using stuff like this. So
it will be called GeForce RTX, John said.
All right, so here we have some string lights, right? I just pasted these in. I had these old lights when we were trying to do I think these are from the airlocks for the Sleipnir. But if we leave the cavities in there, we could potentially do versions in the future where, for example, in this midsection, you could just add room for a light. There's probably room for a thin battery like this, because these are, I think, 3 millimeters deep. So there's a couple of different options. We have options if we build things that modular. So I'm excited about this direction. Oh, we can also look at our solution to the corner pieces. So yeah, regular corner pieces, you have variant clip holes, right? So this is, if you do half walls, you're going to end up with a piece that doesn't clip into anything. So what we've actually done is we've redesigned that corner piece. Maybe I will, damn, I need to get those out of that group, but anyway. Let's take that, and that, press up, isolate, and we'll just remove these ones real quick. Ooh, that doesn't look right. Remove selected objects. That did not work. Oh, because our groups are in. All right, whatever. You get the gist. We have these sliding clips, right? So these originally premiered in the Starfighter packs to slide on munitions. So now we have the ability to actually add clips to every corner. And now when you lift off the wall, it's all going to stay in one piece. So we have test printed some of this. Took a while to sort of get. You can kind of see the original version here. The clip got stuck, wedged inside. Come on, you bloody camera. So yeah, it's really stuck in there. But the more recent iteration, I think this is it. No, that's not it. Wait, where is it? That moves a bit more freely. I don't know where I put it. I had it here, but you can kind of see it move. It is still firm, but damn it, I'm trying to show the nice girls and boys that it works. That's not the right one. This is it. Okay, so you can kind of see the clip here, and that will slide out fairly easily, but is firm enough to sort of hold in place, right? And then we just have these nice intersecting male-female connectors on the top and bottom, and that just sits on top and rests. Right, that's the way.
Oh, we got kind of an interesting question.
What's the interesting question, Alvin?
With knowing what you know now, would you still use open up clips if you were designing from the ground up? That is.
Is that blasted camouflage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought maybe someone who's doing this sort of stuff at the moment. It's a tough one. I tried designing my own clips in the beginning, and in the end I settled on OpenLock because if you're doing a campaign, for example, that OpenLock campaign, knowing that it's compatible with other items of OpenLock that you own has its own value. It's like if you know it's OpenLock, it's okay, this is compatible with the stuff I already have. Personally, it was getting to a stage where I love Ian and his work over at the Dragon's Rest, but when he designed a new clip system, I was just like, oh, not another one. Because it was like OpenLock, Dragon Clip, a bunch of maybe 2 or 3 other ones, maybe even more than that. Everyone was trying their own clip systems. There's advantages and disadvantages to it. I think we could probably have thinner walls without the clips. I kind of feel like using the clips and then my own solutions makes it both accessible to people that want the OpenLock stuff. The one thing I would say I would like to have had is more room in the floors. The floors are quite unnecessarily thick, and I think today too you probably don't need clips quite as thick as the ones we have, although they still do break, so it is something to consider. At this stage, I'm just way too invested. Technically, we could probably use this modular system to be able to support, for example, Dragonlock or Ian's system. I can't remember what it's called. So I don't know how deep those holes are, but the way we're designing things now, it would technically be easier to switch that stuff out in the future. Technically. Now, I don't think personally that I could at all be fucked doing that. It's a lot of work, even if you've got a quicker version of doing things. Now, maybe in the future, our incentive to do that will be a little bit more accessible, because our plans are to, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but 3DO, aka Deck Designer, in its new version is going to be included with our future tribe. So if you subscribe, you get access to Deck Designer, or otherwise known as 3DO now, or 3D Diorama. It's basically you'll be able to get updates by being subscribed. Otherwise, the copy won't be an updated version. Of course, if you own it separately, you'll get the updates. It's not an issue. But we're talking about developing a functionality in the future where you could possibly customize these tiles and get printable versions as a sort of like feature if you're also a tribes member. So we are going to be offering a month of free tribes with our next campaign, so you can sort of get your hands on deck designer that way, I guess. But and it's a way to, you know, support us, particularly John's work on 3DO in particular is where a lot of those funds are going to go. So something to consider. I think we're really not going to have anything more than a $5 per month. So we want to make it worth it for people, and you know, that'll fund the continued development of that software, and it'll also broaden it out to non-Second Dynasty designs in the future, I guess, possibly. We're open to it, but yeah, we'll see. John doesn't seem to be arguing against that, so he's either gone to the toilet, or he doesn't have any objections, or right now he's going fuck. So it could be any or all of the above. In any case, I hope you guys are kind of a little bit excited about the upcoming campaign, because it has been a long time since we just did tiles. Now, some of the early tiles stretch goals that we had were horrendous. John also did the Beta Centauri 270 model, so that should be released today or tomorrow. In any case, our plan is to release the Type J and this model this week. And yeah, we might change the beta a little bit. I don't know exactly how big it is to scale. I think maybe this is a case of where it would be better to have a clip and longer but thicker struts. We'll see. And then the other issue is that this model, for some reason, is quite rugged compared to, I don't know if you guys can actually see that detail or not in the shadows, but it doesn't quite look like this is translated all that well compared to the other piece or other pieces, which looks a lot smoother.
Depends on me concerning the release, I think.
Okay.
So we're basically ready to release, I would say, if we're not going to have resin versions.
Oh yeah, because we thought perhaps we would have to close the campaign next week, but before we realized my manufacturer was talking about the previous Traveler campaign, which we've held open because, you know, since we haven't been able to release those custom miniatures, I kind of feel like it has to stay open until it's closed. But to be fair, we launched that in August last year, and it's been long enough. And of course, when we get those miniatures, we'll update them. I don't feel like I can just go and design them myself due to those backers not having contacted me. So it is what it is.
John wondered where the 3MF went, and I put up the what do you call it, the STL versions, as it would be correlated to the other ships, whatever you say. So they are in the same format. But I mean,
if we have the 3 maps, there's no reason not to include them. I feel so.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's not like they can take apart those 3MFs, and I thought before that 3MF was a quadratic format. It's not, it's triangulated, so I'm not as paranoid about the end result, because it would still be quite painful for some people to reuse those pieces.
Yeah. Tactical was estimated for file size and print size.
I'm not worried about file sizes, John, to be honest. Like, compared to other, yeah, like there's a lot. Yeah, it's not a couple of megabytes. It's not that much of an issue. Or I'd say it's 10 megabytes, whatever. Yeah. So this is kind of the progress I did. Just put in a couple of lights here, just to be a little bit fancy. And we'll probably, this isn't the fully finished version. We'll probably still have a few more details to add, I kind of felt like I added some detail. Oh, okay, yeah, it's here. So I started adding some more detail here on the other side. Here we're going to have like a way for the pipes to sort of meet in the middle and have some kind of, I don't know, mixer or some shit. I don't know. More options is the idea here to make the walls look less boring, more flexible. Not this, right? And I still need to do some control panel for the door to open. I don't know really what I was thinking with 2 buttons and a key card. Key card, sure, maybe 2 buttons though. I guess one could be open, one could be lock. But then you want one to open, close. Who knows? I'll probably do something slightly more sophisticated than that in any case, and maybe even add some more machinery, like for example, a comm system would be good to have. So maybe we'll add parts of speakers. You can kind of see that Albin has been preparing different variants of these sort of classic pieces, and this all is modular with sections that we're going to switch out. So I'm excited about the potential of we'll also do some union parts too. So like we'll probably make a wall that will take these pipes and then thread them through to these pipes. So essentially like you would have these pipes moving to the position of the other pipes. So you could technically join original Starship 1 tiles with the Starship the Next Generation tiles. So yeah, more options, more customization. The pipes are fun, but a bit of a nightmare at the same time to work with. Also, pipes coming down into the floor, because that was the opposite solution, right? And if we move aside this, I also had the idea of they continue on under the floor. So you can see the tops of the pipe underneath the floor. So we could have a little open area and you can kind of see that, oh, okay, the pipes go under the walkway, and that could be a fun way of doing things as well.
Blasted camouflage. Jesus, I should learn what that is before I just say it, I think.
I believe it's a made-up word.
He said doorways, they should have a manual release / seal panel maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And, we're open to ideas for these smaller things. Like, we appreciate the creativity. A lot of the suggestions are just like, I want this, not really, does everyone else want this? But that's an example of, something functional and practical and a good way to dress up the set so that it looks more to scale and, functional is what we're going for, right? We want the Star Wars Aliens aesthetic.
And if I'm thinking correctly, which is not a guarantee, unfortunately, you could probably integrate it into the door as well, I guess.
So that it appears on the door tiles, or yeah, possibly. There's a couple of things like these handrails will probably have just a beam underneath, so that you could actually print the lower part and it would keep the handrails. So you could have some features that stick out even when you've taken the top part off. So that's one possibility. Why? Or did I not print those as separate pieces? Oh, that's slightly annoying. Whatever.
Floor grate with visible pipes options.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I did start experimenting in some of the earlier stuff. We could potentially look at the folders to see how horrendous these look like. So yeah, the original walls. Well, I mean, we have them in this, right? This was the original wall. It's just in 3D now, with the sort of layers included. I do like that we get this nice squiggly pattern from the printing, right? So it does look good, considering. And I think, this section with the ship is actually fairly close to how it looks in real life, even though, it's not going to be photorealistic, but hopefully a little less cartoony than our usual style. So, but yeah, if we just look at the basic geometry, isolating it by itself, I guess that's got a horrible pattern on it for some reason. Why is that? Why does that look so... Oh, turn the lighting off maybe? No, that didn't help. It still looks horrible. Did I put... I'll have to figure that out later. I can't be stuffed doing it right now. But yeah, the very simple form, if we look in core sets and then base tile set, and we look at the very, very simple version of it, you can kind of see that it is extremely simple. I apologize for the small window here. Maybe we can make this slightly larger. Alright, so if we zoom in here, you can see that polygonally this is an extremely simple form. Even at this earliest stage, there's no handles for this sort of like garage door style. It looks terrible. I'm not proud of this. We did do during the same campaign. In the same campaign, we did more detailed ones. So if we look at the detail version, oh, that's a floor, but we should have a wall that's detailed. Wall detail.
About the floor, was it camouflage wondered if the next generation will have filament peg holes for chairs and tables and machinery?
We'll probably have it as options for some things, but if you look back at engineering, we do want to add some machinery to the engineering one. But corridors and engineering, in those ones, there's not going to be a ton of that sort of stuff. I mean, the peg system is going to be used for accessories that make sense to remove like that. A lot of the time, it's less about what the accessories are, more about how easy it is to paint. And a lot of that gets solved now due to the fact that we have the top and bottom walls. So this was the detailed version, and even that is like not that detailed. It's just a bit more chamfered. These handles don't really look like they're functional. They're just like indents, right? There wasn't a ton of thought going into this, but this was 2017, just seeing like easy stuff. And then when we look at these stretch goals, some of them are just like horrible, like the staircase. Like, why did I make it integrated? Why didn't I think to use my own clip holes or add more clip holes? Interestingly, this must have printed like so, because it doesn't have any supports, but I don't know what I was thinking there. And I mean, the other stairs are extremely simple. The clips are even built in. I mean, they required supports underneath them. It didn't occur to me to try and print this on its side. There were a lot of other things I could have done. Look how deep those channels are. It just looks like the difference between Lego and Duplo to me. This is the Duplo, right? What else was horrible? Teleporters. It's like, how disappointed would you be if this is what you got? It's well, I guess it's not as bad as I thought it was, but it's still like, not that interesting. Now, if you look at Star Trek and their transporters, they tend to be quite boring. They're just fancy lights on the floor. One of the sad things about science fiction is that a lot of the great detail is actually in the ceiling, and I can't touch that stuff. Yeah. So it is a bit sad. Going back to the walls and what we were talking about. Damn it, I had a thought just a second ago. Oh, before I forget too, there will be one more release this week. That being that Mikael has been in contact with me, and he's actually done in his spare time a couple of updates on the raft from Traveller 1. So all versions of the raft get a couple new accessories and better pieces. I just need to be asked sorting that into folders or get Albin to do it. But yeah, that should come tomorrow as well. So quite a few releases. We'll do a proper update. Now I've promised a couple of weeks I feel to do an update on Kickstarter, but we do really need to do one tomorrow. What was I going to say?
You were talking about the fidelity of the basic walls, I think.
Yeah, there was something else I had. I've lost it now. It might come back to me later, but I feel there was some question that one of them asked about.
Holes in the.
Not the peg holes. It was much earlier. It was like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, that's a very good question.
So it doesn't really matter that much.
Not the would you use open lock? I guess that was kind of.
No, that was too far back. In any case, we'll move on from there. Essentially, in the stretch goals that we're going to do, I'd want to redress a lot of these, older ideas that we had that just haven't been implemented to the fidelity that we can achieve today. We did the corners as a stretch goal. These will be included in the base packs, and we may do an inner corner, even though you just put a blank open lock template otherwise in there. So look how simplistic this is. These were the pipes. Look at that pipe chamfering. Oh, I can't even see it from here. I don't know how to navigate this thing. Alright, you can only rotate the mouse, so sadly you can't see it. But look at the chamfering here. If I double click this, we should get it in the 3D viewer. Alright, there we go. Look at that. Oh, ugh. It's so ugly. It's so ugly. And it's so chamfered. I can do better than this, guys. I want to do better than this. And I want to make you pay for it. Because otherwise I won't do it. But I still think these modular tiles are useful for people, especially for traveler people, if you want to do ships that are not the standard design. Eventually I'd like to make our partitions compatible somehow so that you could just have corner slots which have the slot holes that you would use on the traveler ships, so you can use those kind of partitions, let's see. The Cryosleep ones have actually had quite a few updates, but I just want to show the old version. Or it has its own folder. Look at that thing. Oh my god. Compared to, I think the most recent version we find in the Beowulf, if we get down into the bowels of the ship. Let's turn the lighting off. Alright, let's say it should just be beyond this wall. Here we go. So let's compare these. Right, still fairly simple forms, and this is the sort of traveler version, right? Where the source material isn't that complicated. And then compare it to that. Yeah. No. So, yeah. We didn't have figures at this point to kind of figure out what the scales are like. The other stuff that was hard to tackle was diagonals. So we're planning to support a few more geometric forms than we were. And Albin's done, I think this is the kind you did, right? These standard corridors is what you've been working on. Yeah. Keep this in mind, and maybe I can open up the scene you're working on. Did you just send me a link, maybe?
Yeah, 2 seconds.
I just want to save this scene, maybe. Because I did add a couple of lights. So Maya doesn't support that many lights on at the same time. Let's see. Let's go Choji. We're in the wrong project. Let's get in the right project. It doesn't matter if it's a mess, Albin. I just want to know which one it is. It's in WIP. Corridor Remake. I'm going to open that now. Thank you for your input. All right, so I just want to again remind you of these very ugly walls that I did. And we can kind of see the version 2. This is the version 2 version. So I did go back and add a bit more detail, made it look more interesting, but it still feels like it's plastic, right? This looks like the cheap Chinese knockoff of what we could have done. Well, actually, this looks like the cheap Chinese knockoff of what we could have done, but let's see. I got to find where it is. You can kind of see some of the modular lights he's added in. Here we go. Oh, you've started coloring things. He got jealous. So here are those corridor walls again. Here we were a little bit better because the doorways actually had the pipes looking like they were going somewhere. But you can see these handles. There could be a couple of overhangs we'd have to deal with there. But yeah, you can kind of see that this is the difference between regular Fidelity detail versions and his versions here, right? So we're getting it. I've come back to the thought. I finally found it. The pegs here, when we're talking about doing second layers, these pegs are normally left in for open log clips, right? There's these cavities in the bottom. We're getting rid of them because I think honestly, if we want to stack stuff properly, we might just add a clip. It's not a very stable way of doing things. We could potentially, because most walls are going to be open on both sides. It just, I don't know how much stacking there's going on. So I think we would just add the features if we needed them. Or that, potentially we could add some kind of feature that would allow you to maybe stack. You can stack anyway. It's just you wouldn't have it necessarily aligned, but we could, for example, there are options down the line, but these in particular are not the best solutions, and they also limit what orientation you can print things in. Mind you, we're going to do all, like, if we leave these in, we can't do the upside down top wall things to put all that extra great detail in. So these are still quite a lot the design philosophy of what we had, but taken to the next level. And in the future, when we do tackle our other styles, because I think we had about 6 different styles altogether of rooms and tile sets, like hangars and habitation, for example. So we'll revisit those in the future if this mini campaign goes well. And again, we're just going to have 2 levels of support, basically $25 for an upgrade, and here it's going to be, if you already have the original tiles, we want there to be a cheap in. We really have no great way of checking if you guys honestly have them or not. These are technically new tiles, but we don't want to shoot our fans in the foot. If you do want to support us at the full price, you're welcome to. It'll be about $50. It should be good value for about money even at that stage. But yeah, that was Albin's scene. There's a ton of modular stuff going on there, and a ton of options that will eventually put out into their own sort of variant. So we're going to be adding a shit ton of options, basically. So I'd like to, for example, do versions of these doors where, the pipes disappear down here, and this side might just have some kind of covering panel like this, right?
We got a comment, by the way. Blasted Sunflames removed his, but I actually read it.
Oh no.
He said, when you order Second Dynasty parts from Wish, pieces. And then Fire Phoenix 22 said, your talent has progressed by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, that wasn't that blasted Samaflange that removed that comment. It was the Chinese trolls. uh, yeah, yo, thank you very much, Fiery Phoenix 22. That sounds like an extra fiery phoenix. Um, I think you guys will enjoy it. I think the modular tiles are still relevant and useful today. Um, they should be compatible with other similar tiles of the open lock nature. I know that there are a couple of people still putting them out. Um, and really, this mini campaign will give us an idea of whether or not we're on the right path or not. But, you know, we can't just spend months updating our old stuff, which is why, you know, the campaign. But I feel like, you know, again, I don't know if I showed this, but this is Albin's wall that we were just looking at, or a variant of it rather, with a window. So he's taken a concept where you have this sort of like emergency shutter as an option. Of course, you can put plastic in there for glass instead. And then, of course, it has a top and a bottom. God damn it, my hair keeps ruining things. Why, camera? Why? Look at these. Look at my horribly maintained nails and fat fingers. No. Yes. Yes. Good boy. It can't be a girl because it's this. All right, now it's gone. Anyway, you get the idea. It's more modular. It's more fun to play with. Quicker to print. Print optimized. And it is also kind of nice to go back in a way and address the things I'm not proud of.
Address the mess.
Address the mess, yes. And I think, again, if we switch back to, you know, the night and day difference between our original style with the pipes that go nowhere. I love this door frame in particular. So this to this, I think we're on the right track. Not to mention the fact that we can easily make it so that, you know, this exits onto proper corridors, and we might make some new machinery, set pieces, or that sort of thing. We're not going to have any unique add-ons, no gimmicks. This will be a no-frills campaign. And basically what we put into it will be based on what you guys put into it. So hopefully we'll get a bunch of new people that haven't supported us way back in Starship 1 or 2, or who have not bought those add-ons after the fact. And, you know, this will give us an indication of how much we should focus on this. It's a good side project. I'll probably be working 50% on the Beowulf, 50% on this. Although, you know, if we have a campaign, that's going to take more time from me. So I think, you know, it's 2 minutes to 4. We're going to leave things at that unless there was...
There was this comment that Fire Phoenix 22 is Jason from the Twitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Jason, yeah.
And Blasted Camouflage had the idea that we should have a camera just for close-ups. And Tamsin said the new stuff looks much nicer.
You know, that's not a bad idea to take the other camera. I just don't have enough USB ports. Because it is possible to set up the camera so it doesn't autofocus. So maybe that's
a good idea.
That's but we'd have to 3D print a rig for it. So yeah, at the moment we're not going to do that. But say goodbye, Albin.
Goodbye, Albin. Goodbye.
See you guys next week.